Thank you. Our next question goes to Tim Bowles. I'd like to, and this comes via the Chamber of Commerce. The neighboring states of New York and Massachusetts have tripled job growth since the last recession compared to Connecticut. And what specific actions would you take to help increase private sector job growth in the state, and particularly here in southeastern Connecticut?
Well, one of the things, and I kind of mentioned this before in terms of the work that I did at Preston Riverwalk, it's an example of what we can do here in terms of energizing the job growth here in southeastern Connecticut. I was able to secure, together with Senator Andy Maynard, $5 million in a Federal Urban Act grant to go ahead and finish up essentially the cleanup. Now I'm dead. Excuse me.
It's going.
Is there okay? To finish cleaning up essentially the Norwich State Hospital property, which is now Preston Riverwalk. I have to commend, first of all, First Selectman Bob Condon and the Preston Redevelopment Agency and its chair, Sean Nugent, for reaching a memorandum of understanding with the Mohegan tribe that could result in upwards to 700 new jobs on site at the Preston Riverwalk property. I think it's these kinds of cooperative agreements that can really drive, together with what's happening with Congressman Courtney down at Electric Boat, we are finally beginning to see a turnaround here, and let's continue that momentum.
Thank you. Ms. Summers, job growth.
Yes, as far as job growth, I commend your work on the Preston Riverwalk, but it hasn't produced any jobs to date. As far as increasing the private sector jobs, what we need to do is get our fiscal house of Connecticut in order. Every business person you talk to will say, I am not willing to come to Connecticut until I know that their financial crisis is under control. We need to have better access to capital for small businesses. If we want to grow entrepreneurial companies that may spin off from Electric Boat or Pfizer, they need to have access to capital, they need to have decreased and streamlined regulation, and they also need to have someone to help shepherd them through the Connecticut system. It is not helpful in Connecticut when you're a business and you come here and they say, here's the 52 permits you have to fill out in order to become a business. Look at Massachusetts and New York. They've been much more successful because they have been able to garnish private and public money to invest in the future of their states. That's exactly what we need to do here in Connecticut.
All right, thank you. We're trying to correct any audiovisual issues, or any audio issues we have. You have 30 seconds, Mr. Bowles.
Yeah, part of the problem, frankly, that I have with this is, the reality is, and I don't know the full circumstances of this, but Heather was involved in getting $1 million loan for her company. I commend her for the work that she did in that company. It looks like a wonderful product. But that company promised to create 143 new jobs here, and it failed to do so. To the point that the company was fined $80,000. So I just think it's somewhat disingenuous.
All right, I'm going to give you another 30 seconds and something.
I'm going to need more than 30 for that. But here we go. Okay.
All right, well, how about 60, and I'll give Mr. Bowles 60 to respond, and then we'll move on to other things. Here you go.
Let me just say that Mr. Bowles does not have his facts correct, and no matter how many times he or the Democrats that write letters to the editor say it, it's just not true. My company never had a loan, ever. Okay? Never had a loan. My company received an investment from a private public organization. At the end of the day, my company has returned $40 million to the state of Connecticut coffers, to the economy, through payroll, capital expenditures, and if you want to go back and look at the actual investment, we have returned 200% between the return of the investment and the taxes paid on the transaction. We were never required to hire 100 people. We were required to hire 100. We fell short. We didn't pay a fine. We paid the penalty. We finished the contract. There's nothing wrong. Nothing was done inappropriately. This is a win for the state of Connecticut. This company is expanding. It's getting larger, it continues to hire people, and continues to add tax dollars to the state coffers. This is exactly what we need to do in Connecticut to grow the economy. I was a job creator. I created jobs in one of the most socioeconomically depressed
Gonna have to wrap up to be fair.
Towns in Connecticut.
Thank you. I'll give you the last 60 seconds, Mr. Bowles, if you'd like to respond.
Yeah, the only thing I have to say really is that I don't know what the distinction is between a fine and a penalty. I guess in my mind it would be equivalent. And again, I commend Heather for the work she did in terms of that company. But the reality is that we need to incubate companies here in southeastern Connecticut that have innovation. I have been a long proponent of clean energy technologies, of green technologies. I think that's the future of much of the job growth here in southeastern Connecticut. I think biotech is also extremely important. I think the work of the sector here in southeastern Connecticut and other parties is also critical in developing a vision, a comprehensive, integrated vision of what we can attract here, what makes sense. We have some tremendous assets here in southeastern Connecticut. We live in a beautiful area, and I think we have to capitalize on that in order to sell the whole concept that we have of a quality of life here that you can't find anywhere else.
All right,